That is a lot of cold packs if you are going to be cooking up 50 plus boxes at once, and I don't even know if it would be possible to do it like that without using regular AA. I made a thread with a write-up on the one-pot method that I thought was fairly decent, but there are a lot good tips that were posted in the thread from me and a few other people on the site where it was originally from that I wasn't able to paste, but really they aren't necessary and would just complicate things for a beginner, such as the cold water batch, and using anhydrous sulfuric acid to smoke off with instead of just the regular out-of-the-bottle stuff, so that you reduce H20 vapor contact, which is safer since H20 is the enemy in that process. Here it is. I like this write-up. Just ignore adding water. This is important, don't use water, ignore that part the process. After reading around about the lithium reduction and stumbling across the shake and bake method, I came up with this safe compromise. Safety is paramount, that is number one. I am well aware of the dangers of the Redfos HI method. A lot of cooking, filtering, condensing typically took me around 48 hours to do a batch from start to finish. With the availability of lithium, I was able to drop that to 2 hours, start to finish. Granted, this batch is much smaller than what I used to make a long time ago. Supplies: 3 24 ounces pop bottles, 3 pint-size mason jars, 1 small container lye crystals from hardware store, 2 instant cold packs, 2 Energizer Ultimate Lithium AA batteries, 2500 mg of ephedrine HCl pills, or pseudo, 1 container Coleman fuel, 24 inches aquarium hose, aluminum foil, several Ziploc baggies, muriatic acid, Epsom salts, acetone, vice grip pliers, needle nose pliers, coffee grinder, coffee filters, funnel, latex rubber gloves. Procedure: first off, for your pills, try and get single component pills, that is pseudoephedrine HCl is the only active ingredient. Or, get a bunch of EPH, ephedrine hydrochloride, pills online, they are everywhere. I recommend getting them outside of the USA. Check out K's and ephedrine HCl pills, they are pretty inexpensive, and there are a ton of companies off the beaten path which will ship to the USA. I am absolutely sure that this reaction will work for domestic pseudo, but try and make sure it doesn't contain goo often, as in. Clean out both bottles and all 3 jars and dry them completely. There must be no water at all in one bottle in particular. This dry bottle will be the reaction vessel. If the others have a very small amount of water, this is fine. I recommend using a hairdryer to fully dry all bottles and jars. In the coffee grinder, place the ammonium nitrate balls from both cold packs. Grind them up, and place powder in Ziploc. Grind up the ephedrine pills and put the powder into a Ziploc. If your lye is not the consistency of sand, put it in the grinder and grind it into powder and put that into a Ziploc. I used 100% lye crystals from the hardware store and didn't have to grind it since it was just like fine sand. Clean your work area. This reaction releases a lot of ammonia gas, so I recommend doing it in a well-ventilated area. I recommend setting up a fan in the room. Prep the acetone bottle. Put 1 cup of Epsom salts into the oven and bake at 415 deg F for 1 hour on a baking sheet. Place Epsom salts into one of the 24-ounce bottles. Add 2 cups of acetone to the same bottle, and tighten the cap as much as possible, then shake vigorously. Let the bottle sit for 30 minutes, shaking every 5 minutes. You now have created dry acetone. Now you must filter out the salts. To do this, you simply use 3 coffee filters and filter out the acetone into a mason jar. This is easy since you simply push down slightly on the filters covering the top of the jar and create a slight cone, then you filter the acetone. This must be done quickly to keep the dry acetone from absorbing humidity from the air and from evaporating. Give the bottle a quick wash with a little Coleman fuel, removing all Epsom salts. Now quickly put the acetone back into the 24 ounces bottle. Another option is to use a wash bottle, or make a homemade one. I have a wide mouth wash bottle which I used for this. It looks like one of these. If you want to, you can make one by taking a 12 inches piece of aquarium tubing and drilling a hole into a 24 ounces bottle and sticking the tube all the way into the bottle. This way, when you squeeze the bottle, the acetone will flow out the end of the tube. This is almost identical to the hydrochloride gas bottle, except that the tubing goes to the bottom of the bottle instead of stopping 2 inches in. Put on latex rubber gloves. Prep the lithium strips. 1. Go to YouTube and look up the video on Get Lithium from Energizer Battery. 2. Be very careful not to short out the batteries. If you bend the side metal down on top of the anode, you can literally lock in a short and blow the battery. If you occasionally see some tiny sparks, don't worry about it, you only completely ruin the battery if you accidentally bend some of the casing metal so that it is touching the anode in the center of the top of the battery, thus shorting it out fast. Watch the video. Except for getting off the anode cap. Follow the directions in the video. The video says these batteries are built like fortresses, and they are. In the first step of the video, the guy took needle nose pliers and fidgeted around with the anode cap for a few minutes and got it to come off. After the plastic wrapper, this is the first thing you remove. It's a major pain in the ass, but it's easy. With Visatrips, I tried for 10 minutes with a needle nose, no luck at all. Lock the grips entirely so there is no gap. Then clamp down on the anode and rip it off. If you just use the pliers like in the video, it'll take you forever. Once the cap is off, use the needle nose pliers to tear down the metallic sides, and then pull out the washer, gas valve, and finally the battery core, and place both cores into an airtight ziplock. Prep hydrochloride gas bottle. 1. Take one of the bottles and drill a hole in the lid which is slightly smaller than the aquarium tube. 2. Pull the aquarium tubing into the hole about 2 inches. Make sure it is snug. The idea here is that we are going to make hydrochloride gas in the bottle. It'll travel along the tubing and we bubble the reaction with the gas to produce the meth hydrochloride salt. This gas is toxic, so we want to make sure that the tube is snug in the bottle. Whatever you do, do not add water to this. I don't care what you've read, don't do it. There is no need. NH4NO3 plus NaONH3 plus NaNO3 plus H20. This reaction releases a bit of water into the reaction chamber. Now, maybe someone can tell me this. I thought that with the lithium anhydrous ammonia reduction, that electrons were removed by water in the reaction chamber. If this is true, then why does the reaction work so well, given that the ammonia gas reaction is providing water in the reaction chamber? Any answers are appreciated. Begin reaction, use funnel to put chems into bottle. 1. Put 4 tablespoons of ammonium nitrate powder into dry bottle. 2. Put 4 tablespoons of lye crystals into dry bottle. 3. Let sit for 1 minute, then with your hand, waft the top of the bottle and see if you smell ammonia gas. This test will ensure you have the right chems in the bottle. Some cold packs do not use ammonium nitrate. This also builds up ammonia atmosphere in bottle for safety. 4. Add 12 FL ounce of Coleman fuel. 5. Do this part as quickly as possible since lithium metal will heat up a little bit, especially if the room is humid. Open baggie with battery cores, and take them out. Unroll each one and remove the lithium metal strip and set it down on a dry surface. Quickly, pick up each strip and tear it into small strips, placing the strips into the reaction vessel. Do not touch the strips to other metal. 6. Pour in baggie full of crushed pills and put on cap. Hold the container, and wait a few seconds and slightly loosen the cap so that ammonia gas can escape. Now the reaction container should have the strips floating on top and you should see bubbles coming up from the bottom. This is ammonia gas. To minimize the gas release, keep the lid tight until you feel the bottle tighten, then vent the gas slowly. Do this over and over again for 60 minutes. At 60 minutes, you will see small copper-colored BBS floating on the top of the mixture. This is a good sign the reaction is complete. Loosen the seal on the bottle slightly to let excess gas escape and sit it on the ground. Take 3 coffee filters and place them over the opening to one of the pint jars. Push down with your finger to make a cone shape in the jar with the filters over the top. Pick up the reaction bottle and uncap it. Slowly pour the liquid into the filters, making sure to decant it so that none of the hard materials inside the bottle make it into the filters. Some will, but this is not a problem. Once the filtering is complete, let the pint jar with the clear liquid sit for 2 minutes. Check the bottom of the jar and look for any white or off-white particles. If you see some, decant the fluid into the second jar, leaving behind all particles in the first jar. Check the second jar after 2 minutes to make sure you got out all the solids. If not, clean the first jar and decant again. The goal is to have a jar with just clear liquid in it. Hydrochloride gas to create meth crystals. Now for the hydrochloride gas. The most important thing here is to not add too much acid or foil. The second most important thing is that when the gas stops flowing out of the bottle, the heat from the reaction dissipates and creates a vacuum inside the bottle. This is a little risky since the vacuum created can very easily draw fluid from the reaction backwards through the tubing and into the gas bottle. If this happens, immediately dump the contents of the gas bottle, wash with water, dry and start over. Safety note: keep a small bottle of water handy, such as a 24 ounce bottle. If the reaction goes out of control and you think it'll melt the plastic bottle, simply dump in the bottle of water and everything will stop. It's a quick and dirty solution to a runaway reaction. Open the gas bottle with the tube in it, and put in about 5 to 7 drops, no more, of muriatic acid. Then, using the aluminum foil, tear off a small piece and roll it into a ball 1/2 inch in diameter and place it into the bottle, tightening the lid right after you put it in. Now, sit the bottle down on the table and put the end of the tubing just under the surface of the liquid. After about 30 seconds, the acid will start reacting with the aluminum and start pumping hydrochloride gas into the mason jar. You will literally see what looks like snow appear in the jar. This is raw meth. Keep bubbling gas until the aluminum ball is completely dissolved, or the gas stops. You can squeeze the bottle to push out more gas into the mixture, but be sure not to suck up any of the reaction, so after squeezing, pull the hose up out of the mixture when you loosen your grip on the bottle. After the aluminum ball is dissolved, there should be a significant amount of meth floating in the jar as well as hydrochloride gas sitting above the solvent line. If the gassing process didn't last at least 2 to 3 minutes, you can add another aluminum ball and a couple drops of acid to continue gassing. You can now manually blow away the smoke or hydrochloride gas which is sitting on top of your mixture. Do not breath in this gas, just exhale over the jar to blow away the gas. Dry HCl gas quickly adheres to water in the air and forms smoke, so this is what you are seeing. Let the mixture sit perfectly still for 5 minutes. Now most of the meth has settled on the bottom. Put 2 coffee filters in the funnel, place it in the reaction bottle, and decant the mixture back into the reaction bottle. We are going to do a second reaction. After most or all of the mixture is back in the reaction bottle, take the 2 coffee filters and place them aside since these have meth on them. Add 1 teaspoon of ammonium nitrate and 1 teaspoon of lye to the reaction bottle and screw on the cap. Doing exactly as before, loosen the cap when the bottle gets tight, and keep doing this for 30 minutes. Afterwards, you can use the same 3 dirty filters you used the first time and decant the liquid into the third mason jar. Loosen the cap on the reaction bottle and place the bottle on the floor. Let the liquid sit for 2 minutes, and if you see solids at the bottom of the jar, decant the fluid into the jar which has the meth in it. Note: to be extra safe, if you are decanting because of solids, it is better to first decant into a clean jar, then once you are sure the fluid in the jar is perfectly clear, go ahead and put the mixture back into the meth jar. If you don't see any solids, go ahead and pour it back into the jar with the meth in it. Add 5 to 8 drops muriatic acid to the bottle with the tube. Add 1/2 ball of aluminum foil to the bottle, and place the other end of the tube just under the surface of the liquid. Now we are trying a second time to produce the hydrochloride salt of meth in the same mason jar which already is meth in it. After the aluminum ball is dissolved, let the meth settle on the bottom again. After 10 minutes, decant off the liquid into one of the other mason jars. You now have a jar with about 2 grams of somewhat pure meth. You now grab the 2 coffee filters used to filter the meth mixture you set aside earlier. These filters have a lot of meth on them, so we are going to use them again. Put these filters over one of the unused or dirty mason jars sitting on the table. Again, push down with your finger to make an indentation in the filters like a small cone. Take the acetone bottle and pour in a small amount of dry acetone into the meth crystals and swirl around the mason jar, mixing the meth into the acetone, and cleaning it. Quickly pour the mixture into the filter set up using the meth filters. After the fluid is gone, you have pure meth in the filters. You can add another splash of acetone to the filters to further clean your product. After all the acetone is gone from the filters, remove the filters and sit them in an open-air environment to dry. You now have pure meth, pure white, around 2 grams, very high quality, sitting in the filters. There will be a small amount of meth stuck in the filters. You can remove the dried meth from the filters and then drizzle some water through the filters, collecting it on a mirror. Let it evaporate and crystals will form from the meth stuck in the filters. Or, you can use the filters to brew a pot of coffee and it will have a nice kick. You will immediately see that this meth is a very fine, perfectly white powder. Do not worry about this. If you want to have huge crystals of meth, you can do a basic recrystallization process and this will give you big crystals instead of fine powder. If you have questions on how to do this, let me know, otherwise I'm sure there is a ton of info here on how to do that. Enjoy. Disposal. Let the reaction vessel sit with the cap loose overnight before disposing of it. Throw out the battery components, the reaction vessel, take apart the smoke bottle and clean it, clean everything. Make sure you put your lye under your sink, cold packs in the medicine cabinet. Be smart, leave no evidence. Throw away your stuff all over town in different trash cans in different places. Wipe off prints off your vessel, etc. Toss the filters. Be smart. I did this reaction in 2 hours, my yield was amazing, I am truly impressed with the result. No lab, no real danger, this is a must for personal use. What I used to do took days, this was literally the simplest reaction I've ever done in chemistry. If you can operate a pressure cooker, you can do this. I am coming down now and the come down is very smooth. I have plenty left for later, but I figured I'd write this up since I haven't done an anhydrous ammonia lithium reduction before and this is my first attempt. I'm extremely impressed with the results and quality. Granted, I used EPH, so I think the result is mostly the D-isomer of meth. Correct me if I am incorrect please. Thanks, I'm gonna try and sleep now, yeah right. Please let me know what you think about the synthesis, or chemistry involved, perhaps any impurities I overlooked. Like I mentioned before, I always wanted to try the cold process, but never had the ammonia or the lithium, or the much-needed distant farmland to try it at. Ammonia is very strong, and the couple times I witnessed the reaction, we were literally in the middle of nowhere. In the evaporation procedure of the cold process we literally evaporated around 2,000 milliliters of liquid anhydrous ammonia. This was extremely strong smelling, and this is why we went so far away to do it. During the procedure, it was kept at a very low temperature so the smell was doable, but, when finished, we had to evaporate all the ammonia, and man did that stink. Please ask away if you have any questions about the procedure. This is a very simple procedure and with the cost of pills being reasonable, this is definitely the way to go for personal occasional use. For bulk I would recommend a different procedure. Post by, Hated Patriot. You can get the ammonium nitrate bulk. You still think the hassle would outweigh the risk of fucking with tanks? How many tweakers here make or have made their own? Post by, DK Monk. I just have never seen it done for quantity. because I would think you would need a big vessel to hold the pressure, where with a liquid you don't need a massive enclosed vessel since it reacts well due to the pseudo being in full contact with the AA liquid. I am just trying to figure out how a bunch of lye and ammonium nitrate are going to be contained safely to make the reaction go well. It would be a giant bomb, virtually a one-pot cook supersized. Using AA is still a hazard, but not nearly as potentially dangerous. I am not sure how many people have cooked, but it is fairly common among people I know to at least have witnessed a cook or helped out. I thought it is like breaking your meth cherry initiation passage to actually say you can make the stuff. I tried it my first time when I was young and a senior in high school, not knowing two shits, but just wanted to do it for the chemistry fascination aspect, and back then one-pot method wasn't popular or heard of yet, at least around here, so we went and hit a tank up not knowing much about how to properly use the release pressure valve, then the other that makes the AA come out. Not sure how we survived without major chemical burns or anything. Post by, Hated Patriot. Lol. I have always liked drugs and science, so it was only a matter of time before I played around with shit. Never. Meth, though. Meth is the only drug where most regular users can also make it. That shit is funny. I've known how for many years, but never even tried once. You talk about not knowing how you didn't fuck yourself up, I know that feeling. You were also harping about no water in the synth you posted. That's what got me, not trying my methanol. Once. Almost choked me and the old lady out. I had chlorine volcano lol, shit was fucking crucial. All because I spaced and didn't dry my methanol. I don't think a lot of aspiring home drug makers realize how dangerous water can be in some reactions. Post by, Sick Girl. That method sounds fairly tried and true. I have found that in the US, most pseudo-tabs nowadays are gacked. Used to be able to use wall-fed, as they did not have any gack in them, but alas, no more. Does anyone know of any pills out there that are gack-free? It seems lately that going back to cooking is about the only option for steady consistency. This birch reduction is fairly decent. Have you ever tried the LWR? Push-pull can be good as well, but push-pull does not seem to yield as much as the birch. Sorry for jumping in here, now you are talking my language. Oh, how I miss the days of using methylamine as a precursor, lol. Always liked P2P dope, but never have been able to acquire any, P2P, and making my own is a hassle I do not want. Disclaimer: ignore the rambling nature of this post, Sick Girl is very stoned this evening. Post by, DK Monk. Common pills are the 24-count 12-hour white ones and the red 96-count generic ones. You get slightly more pseudaft in the red ones, but no much. That is the limit per buy for a week, one or the other of those. Post by, Risky 2. Guys, I don't think the meth vendors on ESA are going to like all this talk of making your own homemade meth lol. I think you guys are going to need the classic disclaimer, don't try this at home. Unless you enroll in the official Walter White meth cooking class, or Post by, Hated Patriot. Like Dude said earlier about knowing how to cook was his initiation, I think it's safe to say that all the serious tweakers here know all this already. Post by, DK Monk. It is no competition to them since they are selling high-quality crystal, and whatever anyone on here makes will not be anywhere in the neighborhood of that, unless someone experienced in chemistry with a good place and access to chemicals decides to try their own. Then there is no way crystal is going to be produced from a small amateur home lab. It also is more work and worry than it is worth to get the product that is less quality when you are accustomed to the stuff on here. I see it as more of a challenge and fun experiment that some people who have interest in chemistry and making things may want to try. I personally enjoy making it every now and then and just give the dope away to a friend for free or super cheap. People are going to cook if they want for whatever reason, and it isn't exactly secret how to do it, so might as well provide a good outline and answer PMS or other questions if someone asks, so people are safe and aware of the dangers and how to protect theirself. Post by, Hated Patriot. Had to give out my first karma to you, dude. Post by, Sick Girl. Placed an order with the prof and going to FE. So far communication has been wonderful, and he is helping me with shipping in a time crunch. Will update when I receive the shards, but from what I have been reading, his quality is superb. Note to self: do not let this much time pass between end of bag and reordering ever again. Post by, Torn. Yeah, I had the same note to myself as well, started the order process about a month ago. After a few wait and cancels and other various vendor strife and shenanigans, only this week did I finally having anything show up. Post by, Priscilla Marie 90. Coming in a bit late here, but don't make shake and bake meth, you guys. It's not even worth it, it can kill you, and it fucking sucks ass. It's the dirtiest, nastiest shit ever, I wouldn't even pay money for it to be honest. Crystal is the only way to go. There's no money to be made in shake and bake meth, it's just shit. Edit. P.S. A note about Boar's Hogs meth: be careful if you smoke it, it burns a lot easier because it is very pure. Post by, DK Monk. It is substantially less pure, but if done properly it isn't any dirtier than cut crystal. The problem is hardly anyone who does it know how to do it. Post by, Priscilla Marie 90. That's probably true. I don't know, it's just something about that doughy, off-white looking mush that makes me cringe. Post by, Sick Girl. Agreed. Not to mention, if one has a basic, rudimentary understanding of organic chemistry, recrystallization makes it not too bad at all in a pinch. But if one knows how to do that, then they would be better off with the LWR than the one-pot S&B. I have made some fairly decent gear that got me through rough times back in the day. Racemica's shit, but worth it emu. Post by, DK Monk. See, it should never be doughy or too far off white, mine always come out real fluffy and white or slightly cream color too. It. A gram looked like a shitload because of how fluffy it was, and you could see a glint to it, below the powdery fluff. Read just microcrystal. When washed in Aston you can get it really good looking and it is like decent crystal. Post by, Anon 9876. I don't care about even messing with it as long as the ESA sellers keep their prices decent. When it reaches $100 a 0.5 gram, I will be done with shopping on the road for meth. Post by, Sick Girl. I have an overnight order shipping out tomorrow from the professor. Does he provide the DCNs on FEs after shipping, or do I have to request it from him? I figured I would ask on here, since I already bothered him with enough messages in the last 48 hours, lol. Post by, Priscilla Marie 90. I love you, your posts always make me smile. D. Post by, Optical Infinity. C. This is why I don't feel like I fit in with tweakers, man, I haven't had a bag in 8 months. That's not to say that I don't dig crystal, I really do. I just don't want to get burned out on it, so I only do it a few times a year. Ever try telling someone you're a moderate drug user? Also, I never smoke it. I did that once. Never again. Insufflation's the way to go. Maybe when Twacky's package gets here, I'll try sticking it up my ass for a change of pace. Post by, Sick Girl. I hear what you're saying, and I totally agree. The position that I was in was that I finished off the RST of my heroin from OP long before I had finished my shards. That left me in a tweaked, strung out state. Get it burned out as you say does suck, but it's not so bad when you have something to bring you down. When I don't have that, I turn into a jonesing fiend, lol. I consider myself moderate on it though, as I only allow myself so much crystal. Opiates however, not so moderate, lol. Oh well, we aren't here for a long time, we're here for a good time, D. Post by, Ketoljigdaxivin. Thanks for the review mate, glad you're enjoying it too. I also got a bit tempted tonight, Dub G's stuff is really clean and with the right technique, pipe and flame, whether it's liquid or has recrystallized, never goes brown and most times stays very clear to the end. Mind you, I usually don't put in more than 50 milligrams at a time, and that's for both my partner and I. Post by, Priscilla Marie 90. I received from Professor Twack today. I'm really pleased, it looks great. Here's a picture. Post by X8MX. Very nice, thanks for the pic Pry. Hopefully mine will arrive tomorrow, yet tomorrow seems so goddamn far away.